Former Chicago police officer Jason Van Dyke now free after serving a little over 3 years behind bars for the murder of Laquan McDonald. His release has many calling for him to face federal charges. So joining us now to talk about that is attorney Karen Conti. Karen, thank you so much for joining us. Nice talking to you again about this subject in particular. A lot of people, civil rights activists, right now protesting downtown. We have a lot of our officials calling for a stronger sentence and federal civil rights charges, and some even think he may have gotten preferential treatment. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, he did not get preferential treatment. Whether you like the sentence or not, or our statute or not, is another story. His sentence was 6 years and 2/3. And by our law, that charge and that conviction is entitled to good time. And good time means 50% is served, no matter what. And 50% is served as long as he doesn't get into fights or insubordination or the like. In fact, had he been the average Joe, he might have even been out earlier because he could have been on home confinement or due to COVID. But he did all of his time, and that was what the statute required him to do.
If he had been charged with first-degree murder, would that have changed? Or if he'd been convicted on assault charges?
If he would have been convicted on first-degree murder, that would not have been the case. But he wasn't convicted on that. He was found not guilty on that. So he had a second-degree murder, and he also was acquitted on the charges of unlawful use of a weapon while a police officer. So while he did go to jail and he served his time, he was successful on a couple of the counts.
Where do federal civil rights charges stand? Can he be charged with that? There's a higher threshold in this case, isn't it?
Yeah, he could be charged. That's definitely a possibility. We've seen it with all these other cases. We saw it with Derek Chauvin and the 3 officers who are on trial right now, Rodney King, all of those cases. And they're kind of parallel kinds of cases. It's the same kind of fact set, but in the federal case, you're saying that the police officer deprived the guy of his due process rights. Certainly they could bring him, but you know what, Micah, it seems to me that if the feds were going to bring these charges when they were investigating this case back in 2014, which they would have brought them sooner. Maybe they assessed that these charges would be too difficult to prove. Maybe they thought that this punishment was sufficient. I don't know, but I just doubt we're going to see charges right now.
Can a hand-delivered letter from Reverend Jesse Jackson to the U.S. Attorney John Lausch make a difference?
I don't think so. Okay. You know, the U.S. Attorney's Office has rules about what they do. And remember, for 4 years during this time period, from the time that Laquan McDonald was killed until now, Donald Trump was in office. And all that means is that his Justice Department really wasn't active in these civil rights type cases. And so you had a 4-year period where they probably weren't going to bring those charges. Now, with the new regime in place, would there be possible charges? Yes, but again, I think we would have seen them already.
Can Jason Van Dyke leave the state? Can he relocate somewhere else right now?
Not until his parole is over, unless he gets written permission from the court. And in his case, it may be that his life is threatened. I know that when he spent time in prison, he was in one of those pacts where he was not in an Illinois prison. He was in different states to protect him from other inmates. So it may be that he gets written permission and he is allowed to leave the state, but only under those conditions.
Attorney Karen Conti, be safe, be well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.